Well, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today is wiring day. I got the ALH wiring harness all laid out on my garage floor, and I'm ready to start hacking things away, splicing wires together, and hopefully make it my own standalone harness without too much trouble. Now, I've been pouring over this wired harness. A fellow YouTuber made this called David Shoemaker. He's a fellow YouTuber who does TDI swaps. This is just a PDF you could download. And I've been going over it for several hours, several days, just in my spare time, just to wrap my mind around what I'm dealing with, what I need to keep, what I need to get rid of, what's important, especially, and I'll go more in depth in a second. I'm going to try to make this as entertaining as possible. I don't think many of you are looking for a 2-hour video on splicing wires for an engine that you don't even own yourself. So I just want to document the process, because this is just part of it. If you want to run an electronically controlled injection pump, if you want to run an ECU, you got to have a standalone wired harness for this job. And it's not the funnest part, but it is necessary. So we're going to get into it real quick, guys. Let me get you off the tripod. Real quick, just to show you what I've been using for a little bit of a map. This is the pinout of all the wires. Green are ones that are loose. Orange are wires that I don't need. Blue are cruise control and such. And then I downloaded a 3-page wiring diagram that I just laid out side by side so I could trace the wires without having to flip pages and kind of lose track of what I'm doing. Again, this has taken me several days on my off time to study this, to go over it, and just see what I'm dealing with here. And it actually isn't too bad. Now, when it comes to the ECU for the TDI, it has a large plug and a small plug. And that's really important here, because the small plug is almost done for me. The wiring is pretty much complete. It goes to the glow plug harness, the needle lift sensor, just all the sensors that go to the injection pump and such. Now for the large plug, it has the map sensor, this transmission control harness that I don't need. I can just cut it right here, because my 2001 Volkswagen Golf was an automatic. And then the N75 valve, which runs the wastegate actuator for the turbo. So pretty important. And then this just goes to the transmission. I can cut this here because I honestly don't have the automatic transmission anymore. This right here, this goes to the windshield washer fluid, the marker lights, ABS sensor, all that stuff I obviously won't need. So I can cut that anywhere that's convenient. And I would say the most daunting part is right here. This is the biggest mess of wires. This is what would be underneath the cab where the instrument cluster would sit. And there's just a lot of relays, fuses, the brake switch here, the throttle position sensor, which is really important. I have to use the throttle pedal out of the 2001 Volkswagen Golf and then make a bracket to mount into the Dakota. It requires a signal to send back to the ECU to then tell the injection pump what to do. Also the brake switch, it's a little complicated. I'm not going to go into it, but it's either used for cruise control as well as helping the vehicle start without acting weird. I'm not going to dive into it a whole lot, but it just has its very specific use. Also, the OBD2 port, very important. So it looks like a big mess of wires, but as long as I just trace them back to the connector, I think everything's going to be okay. All right, I guess I'm just going to start cutting away at these wires. I really hope my notes were correct. All right, to that. This is the transmission control harness. Add that to the pile. All right, fast forward a little bit. Things are getting interesting here. It's getting messy, but this big harness here has been stripped apart. I'm really glad I didn't cut these clips, because I found out through some research that this blue clip actually hooks up to the throttle position sensor on this side of the harness. So I'm going to keep these for now. I have the pinouts out of the big connector. I hollowed that out, removed these carefully, and so now I can trace back the wires by color if I need to. I also have the map sensor, the N75 valves, All those harnesses, the MAF as well here. All that's ready to go on this side. Moving on to this side of the harness, I think I'm ready to start cutting stuff. I really hope I'm not making a dumb decision, but I don't think I need all these wires. They're just going to the old headlights, just random stuff like this fender light here, so I just don't think I need any of it. I'm gonna cut it all away. And there's that harness. And I'm keeping all these wires. I have a little box off camera for every wire that I cut. I'm keeping it, so just in case I make a mistake, at least I still have it and I can wire things back together, worst case scenario. I'm gonna keep this for now. Set that aside. I'm gonna cut this wiring harness because I know for a fact I don't need this. I'm confident in that. Okay. So this harness here was nothing but another fender light, headlights, windshield washer fluid stuff. I don't need any of this. This can just all go away into the box. I'll just keep moving down the line. So I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm actually making quite a bit of progress here. So all I'm doing right now is I'm taking these relays out of this relay holder, pulling them out, getting the relays out of the connector there, or the holder, and just replugging the relay so I don't lose them or forget where they go. Just doing that for every single one here. Okay, it's been a couple days later and the big mess of wires is slowly getting smaller and smaller. This is all the wires that I pulled off, just whether in clumps or one at a time. It's quite the mess. Also got another little pile going on right there. So I found out through some research after the fact that this is called the P14 plug that went to, I think I said this was headlights. Yeah, headlights, sensors for fans. So I cut these wires. I shouldn't have. I can obviously reconnect them, but I just made some more work for myself. Not a big deal. I'm learning as I go. This plug is important because I found out that it actually connects the whole harness together. So these wires are going to run power through here, through the P14 plug to everything else. So basically it's a massive bridge to run different systems. But what I've done is I've kept the relays I want to keep for now. I've gotten rid of relays that I need to get rid of. So now it's just a matter of untangling all these wires. I know I have to keep these now because these are obviously going to plug into the same color as the harness over there. Wow. After days and days of doing this in my spare time, I finally got all the wires that I need. So now they just have to either be spliced together, they have to like be run to power or clipped off. This is a glow plug relay here that has to be saved. Guys, I didn't want to show you this just because it's as exciting as it sounds. You're tracing each wire back at a time, doing a lot of research, seeing if you need it. If you need it, keep it. If you don't, cut it. And I finally got it. All these wires separated or cut away and cut away from that huge loom there. So this relay panel I didn't need. There's another relay somewhere in that pile that I didn't need, but everything here is ready to go. Okay, so after many weeks of doing research, looking at wiring diagrams, looking at other YouTube videos where people have done this before me, calling people to ask for help, this is the final product that I'm going to be using for the ALH swaps. Now, it looks a little bit more complex than it actually is. This is a lot simpler than what I started with. I got 3 boxes of wires that I don't need. But basically, to put it in perspective, it's essentially one big loop. You have the big plug go into it's all these little tiny sensors and plugins, and that'll plug in to the smaller harness and just loops together. I'm going to take you off the tripod and show you. So starting here at the ECU, I'm going to start with the big plug here. A lot of these wires I don't need. I'm not going to loom everything up right now because I don't know what it's going to look like in the Dakota. I don't know if I need to shorten wires, get rid of wires, lengthen them. I'm not going to loom everything up and tape it all and make it all look pretty when I'm just going to have to take it all apart and customize it for the engine bay of the Dakota. So for now, this is what I'm going with. The large plug here, you have the map sensor, didn't need to touch that. I kept these colored plugs just because I like the simplicity of them. A lot of people like to get rid of these and run just the few wires they need to run the engine. I'm going to be running AC. I'm going to attempt to. I'm going to need to do other things. I'm going to be using the glow plug relay. So for now, I think these plugs are necessary. In the future, if I need to get rid of them, fine. I'll just cut them and run wires to where I need to run them. But for now, I like the simplicity of it. I got the throttle position sensor on this pedal. I'm gonna have to make a bracket to bolt this into the Dakota somehow, but of all the wiring that I had to customize, this was probably the easiest. You basically just take the plug off the pedal, it runs to the blue plug here, and then you just have a single power wire to power this system. Pretty simple. This OBD2 port is gonna have to be wired into this white plug here. There's some wires for the CAN bus high and low. Again, I didn't do that because I don't know if I need to lengthen them or shorten them. I'm going to get to that plug in a second, but let me start up here at the smaller plug. The smaller plug was pretty simple. It has a little jut off here to the glow plug lines. I'm going to get into that in a second, but mainly at the end of this harness is the glow plug harness, the needle lift sensor, the injection pump plug-in. All of that is pretty much ready to go. I didn't get rid of any of those lines at the end because I think I need every single one of them. This plug here is pretty important. This is what is called the P14. Again, a lot of these wires I don't need. I can either de-pin them, cut them short, and just put some shrink tube over them, but these wires here are power wires. They're gonna have to be either run to a ground or power. And that'll essentially loop this whole system together. But coming back up to here where the glow plugs are, the glow plugs run all the way down to the glow plug relay, and then the glow plug relay has several wires that jut off here. Again, it just comes into here, goes to the glow plug relay, then there's another power wire that comes off into this power distribution box, which goes to a battery terminal. Again, a lot of people delete that. I'm keeping it for now because it's not really in my way as of this moment. And then it has another wire and harness over to the alternator and I believe the AC plug-in. So for now, that's going to be left alone. So back to this cobbled mess here. This is, again, it's unnecessary, but I'm just keeping it the way it is for now. The 109 relay is the relay that wakes up the whole system. It's, a lot of people get rid of it, but it's got to be fused to a system. It's tied into this glow plug relay here. So I'm just going to keep it for now until something changes. It's okay. The brown plug is probably the most important plug of all these colored plugs because it has the main line that goes to the battery, the main power system. And then again, a bunch of little tiny lines that go, I think some to this black plug, some to the glow plug relay. So when it comes time, probably some of these wires are gonna have to be cut and reorganized just to untangle them. But also, like this white and black wire, I believe has to be run to the P14 plug to loop the system. Okay guys, I think I can cut the video off here. I just want to show you the highlights of this whole pair down of the wiring harness. Again, I started with several boxes of wiring that I pulled out of the Volkswagen Golf. Now I got 3 boxes of discarded wires. So it was hard work, but it was well worth it. If you want to buy a wiring harness that's already been pared down, say off eBay or somewhere else, cost you $500–600 on up. So just doing this job myself, I've saved myself hundreds of dollars. I've learned something. I've faced my fears of tackling wiring, and it's ready to go in the vehicle. And again, it can be pared down, the wires can be lengthened, whatever I need to do, but that's going to be later when the ALH is actually mounted into the Dakota. So guys, now that the hard technical part is done, now we can start having fun with the mechanical wrench and stuff. I got an adapter plate kit off camera here to mount the ALH to this NSG 370. I have gaskets coming for like the rear main seal on the ALH. Going to be cleaning up the block, repairing some vacuum lines that have been cut. So there's a lot of things that are going to be moving at a much faster pace on this swap. It just took a long time for me to figure this stuff out. But now that, again, the hard stuff's out of the way, we're really going to start having fun here. I hope you stick around because we're just getting started and I'm having a lot of fun learning as I go. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.